Is alcohol as disgraceful as it's often portrayed? Let's dive into the nitty-gritty and know the truth. In this series, we'll uncork the past, exploring the evolution of alcohol, from ancient beverages to modern spirits. But our exploration doesn't stop there. We'll also pore over the medical standpoint, discussing both the benefits and risks associated with alcohol consumption. We'll discuss the properties of alcohol from a medical perspective and analyze how alcohol interacts with our bodies and minds. So, grab a seat and join us on this spirited expedition through the history, evolution, properties, and medical intricacies of alcohol. Cheers to knowledge. Welcome, curious minds. Any mashed sugar containing foods such as grapes, berries, or even honey left exposed in warm air will kickstart the fermentation process and turn into alcohol. Fermentation is a natural process where yeasts from the air act on the sugar in the exposed food, converting it to alcohol and carbon dioxide. Alcohol was not created in a lab, it was a discovery made by curious human observations. Over the period, alcohol became a blend of nature's magic and human creativity aimed at making something tasty and a bit fun. The origin of alcoholic beverages is shrouded in the mists of prehistory. The exact moment humans delved into crafting fermented drinks remains a mystery. Across numerous pre-literate societies, the art of making wines and beers has been documented. The earliest evidence, dating back to 7000 BCE in China, reveals a concoction of fermented rice, millet, grapes, and honey stored in clay pots. The significance of these drinks echoes through the diverse customs and regulations enveloping their creation and consumption. These beverages often took center stage in cherished personal and social rituals, becoming integral to events like births, initiations, marriages, feasts, and even solemn occasions like funerals. Research findings show that many ancient civilizations were fermenting their own drinks. Ancient Mesopotamians and Egyptians brewed beer year-round, using stored cereal grains. This beer was not exclusive. It was accessible to people from all social classes, with workers even receiving it as part of their daily rations. The credit for inventing the brewing process may be given to the Sumerians. Beer in ancient Mesopotamia had a dense, porridge-like consistency, quite different from the sippable texture of modern brews. Fun fact: all Sumerians were Mesopotamians, but not all Mesopotamians were Sumerians. Coming back, the Egyptians took the brewing a step further by refining the process. They tweaked the Sumerian brewing techniques to produce a smoother, lighter brew that could be easily poured into cups or glasses for consumption. Consequently, Egyptian beer is frequently acknowledged as the first beer in the world, as it shares more similarities with the contemporary brew than the Mesopotamian recipe. Thus, Egyptians are known as the first civilization to perfect the art of beer brewing. Beer is mentioned as a part of almost every major festival in ancient Egypt and was often supplied by the state. Although beer was enjoyed at these celebrations, it was not reserved only for special occasions. Beer was a staple of their daily diet. Also, it was a common form of compensation for work and frequently prescribed for health. The initial brewing of beer took place in households, with women as the early brewers, before evolving into a state-funded industry overseen by men. Beer was viewed as a nutritional source and was consumed by men, women, and children alike. While they also crafted wine, the scarcity of grape-friendly climates made it a luxury reserved for special occasions due to its rarity and expense. In contrast, in ancient Greece and Rome, where grapes thrived, wine flowed as readily as beer did in Egypt and Mesopotamia. The ancient people were resourceful in their ways and thus crafted alcohol from the crops and plants available in their surroundings, given that yeasts can ferment a variety of plant sugars. For most of Rome's winemaking history, Greek wine was the most highly prized, with domestic Roman wine commanding lower prices. The Roman conviction that wine was an essential daily indulgence rendered the drink both democratic and widespread. It graced the tables of slaves, peasants, and aristocrats, embracing both men and women in its appeal. To guarantee a constant flow of wine for Roman soldiers and colonists, viticulture and wine production expanded to every corner of the empire. The ancient Roman winemaking process commenced right after the harvest, with the grapes being trodden, often by foot, akin to the French pickage. The juice extracted in this manner was highly prized and kept separate from what later emerged through grape pressing. This free-run juice was believed to possess the most beneficial medicinal properties. Romans believed that wine had the power to both heal and harm. The ambivalent attitude of the Romans is seen in an epitaph: baths, wine, and sex corrupt our bodies, but baths, wine, and sex make life worth living, says the epitaph of Tiberius Claudius Secundus. The ancient Greeks were trailblazers in winemaking, sharing their innovative methods with early winemaking communities in present-day France, Italy, Austria, Russia, and beyond. Their impact reverberated through the winemaking cultures of the Celts, Etruscans, Scythians, and eventually the Romans. Wine, besides being a valuable trade commodity, played crucial roles in Greek society, serving as a cornerstone in religious, social, and medical contexts. Greek scholars, most notably Hippocrates, extensively studied the medicinal uses of wine. The poet Eubulus noted that 3 bowls, also known kylikes, were the ideal amount of wine to consume. The quantity of 3 bowls to represent moderation is a recurring theme throughout Greek writing. In his circa 375 BC play Semele or Dionysus, Eubulus has Dionysus say, 3 bowls do I mix for the temperate, 1 to health, which they empty first, the 2nd to love and pleasure, the 3rd to sleep. When this bowl is drunk up, wise guests go home. The 4th bowl is ours no longer, but belongs to violence, the 5th to uproar, the 6th to drunken revel, the 7th to black eyes, the 8th is the policeman's, the 9th belongs to biliousness, and the 10th to madness and the hurling of furniture. Moving to ancient China. The earliest evidence of wine was found in what is now China, where jars from Jiahu which date to about 7000 BC were discovered. This early rice wine was produced by fermenting rice, honey, and fruit. What later developed into Chinese civilization grew up along the more northerly Yellow River and fermented a kind of wangju from millet. The Zhou attached great importance to alcohol and ascribed the loss of the mandate of heaven by the earlier Xia and Shang as largely due to their dissolute and alcoholic emperors. An edict ascribed to circa 1116 BC makes it clear that the use of alcohol in moderation was believed to be prescribed by heaven. Unlike in Europe and the Middle East, China abandoned the production of grape wine before the advent of writing and, under the Han, abandoned beer in favor of wangju and other rice wines. They were usually consumed warmed and frequently flavored with additives as part of traditional Chinese medicine. Marco Polo's 14th century record indicates grain and rice wine were drunk daily and were one of the treasury's biggest sources of income. Alcoholic beverages were widely used in all segments of Chinese society, were used as a source of inspiration, for hospitality, an antidote for fatigue, and sometimes misused. Laws against making wine were enacted and repealed 41 times between 1100 BC and AD 1400. A commentator writing around 650 BC asserted that people will not do without beer. To secure total abstinence from it is beyond the power even of sages. Hence, we have warnings on the abuse. Now let us move our attention to India. Alcoholic beverages in the Indus Valley Civilization appeared in the Chalcolithic era. These beverages were in use between 3000 BC and 2000 BC. Sura, a beverage brewed from rice meal, wheat, sugarcane, grapes, and other fruits, was popular among the Kshatriya warriors and the peasant population. The Hindu Ayurvedic texts describe both the beneficent uses of consuming alcoholic beverages and the consequences of intoxication and alcoholic diseases. Ayurvedic texts concluded that alcohol was a medicine if consumed in moderation, but a poison if consumed in excess. We will soon cover this Ayurvedic perspective on alcohol in our upcoming video. Early Vedic literature suggests the use of alcohol by priestly classes. The two great Hindu epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata, mention the use of alcohol. The later Vedas prohibited the use of spirits for the gratification of the senses, saying wine is unfit to be drunk, unfit to be given, unfit to be accepted. The views on abstinence and vegetarianism have been prompted by the teachings of Mahavira and Buddha. The repercussions are to be found also in the Manusmriti. Distillation in the ancient Indian subcontinent, evident from baked clay retorts and receivers found at Taxila and Shahzada in modern Pakistan, dating back to the early centuries of the Common Era. Moving to the west, in South America, chicha, often infused with hallucinogenic herbs, was made from grains. Chicha is a Spanish word for any variety of traditional fermented beverages from the Andes region of South America. It can be made of maize, manioc root or fruits among other things. In the economy of the Incas, there needed to be a steady flow of chicha, amongst other goods that were important to everyday life. Mexico, known for pulque, derived this fermented beverage from agave. The drink's history extends far back into the Mesoamerican period when it was considered sacred, and its use was limited to certain classes of people. After the Spanish conquest of the Aztec Empire, the drink became secular and its consumption rose. East Africans brewed banana and palm beer. While in what is now Japan, sake emerged from rice. Many such ancient civilizations celebrated alcoholic beverages, and thus virtually every corner of the globe boasted its own distinctive fermented drinks. Ancient fermented beverages had relatively low alcohol content. At about 13% alcohol, the byproducts wild yeasts generate during fermentation become toxic and kill them. When the yeasts die, fermentation stops, and the alcohol content levels off. So for thousands of years, alcohol content was limited. That changed with the popularization of the distillation process. 9th century Arabic writings describe boiling fermented liquids to vaporize the alcohol in them. Alcohol boils at a lower temperature than water, so it vaporizes first. Capture this vapor, cool it down, and what's left is liquid alcohol, much more concentrated than any fermented beverage. At first, these stronger spirits were used for medicinal purposes. Then, spirits became an important trade commodity because, unlike beer and wine, they didn't spoil. Rum made from sugar harvested in European colonies in the Caribbean became a staple for sailors and was traded to North America. Europeans brought brandy and gin to Africa and traded it for enslaved people, land, and goods like palm oil and rubber. Spirits became a form of money in these regions. In early societies, alcoholic beverages served diverse roles. As a source of nutrition, alcohol held limited value beyond its caloric content. Medicinally, it endured as a solvent for water-insoluble compounds and a tonic. In religious contexts, while diminished, wine maintained a specific symbolic role. However, in the modern world, the most pronounced features of alcohol are social. Ancient uses persist in symbolizing friendship, peace, and agreement in personal, business, or political relations. In modern society, many turn to alcohol to alleviate inhibitions, shyness, anxieties, and tensions, aiding in effective social and economic functioning. Modern societies grapple with consensus on issues of morality, and since the late 18th century, alcohol consumption has been a contentious focal point. Historically, alcohol has been linked to risk-taking and morally lax, hedonistic behavior, drawing disapproval from those advocating moral strictness and ascetic lifestyles. As we raise a metaphorical glass to the end of our journey through the captivating history and evolution of alcohol, it's clear that it has woven itself deeply into the fabric of human civilization. From the ancient rituals of Mesopotamia to the refined wine culture of Greece, and the diverse drinks across the globe, alcohol reflects the complexities of our social, cultural, and medicinal past. Whether a symbol of celebration, a source of solace, or a social lubricant, the story of alcohol is a testament to the intricate dance between human ingenuity and the wonders of the natural world. As we draw the curtains on our exploration into the history and evolution of alcohol, our journey continues with a new chapter. Join us in the next video as we discuss the medical views of alcohol. Until then, stay tuned for the next chapter in our quest for knowledge and understanding. Share your thoughts in the comments section below.